All right, here is your last lesson in our integers unit. Let's go ahead and start by going to our page sorter here and heading up to the top. All right, go ahead and fill out your date for today and that we're doing learning goal number 10. We're going to be focusing on determining the reasonableness of our answers, making sure they make sense. And then here's what learning goal number 10 is: being able to solve word problems involving integers. So all the way back down to the lesson, and let's go ahead and jump right into this. So the first thing that I want you to be aware of is that we're going to be drawing pictures to represent these story problems. It is something that you're going to be expected to do on the test, so make sure you're paying attention at how to do this. Okay? You'll start by sketching all the objects in the word problem. Make sure that you include any of the numbers and label those. Your zero will need to be labeled, especially if we're talking about sea level or elevators or things like that. Always label that zero location so you understand what's above positive and what's below negative. Always put a star at the start so you can identify where you began, and then use arrows to show movement up, down, left, or right. We're going to be looking at two different kinds of expressions, okay? Ones that deal with change, and change is going to be things like, in the question you'll see, how far did they travel, or what was the change in distance, or whatever that was. And then the other one is where expressions. So they'll say, once you've gone this amount of change or distance, what is the new position, or where are we now? Okay. For change expressions, we're always going to be doing a subtraction expression, because just like making change or finding elapsed time, you're going to do subtraction to find that difference between start and end, or end and start. Okay. And then the where expressions are going to be a little bit different. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's go down here, and I want you to go ahead and you can highlight the left side of these two. These two are going to be our change examples. Okay, so go ahead and write and label that. And then these two down here are going to be our where examples. Okay, all right, so getting started here. Let me move the page sorter out of the way. When we're looking at change expressions, what we're going to be doing is taking the end time, and we're going to be subtracting the start time. Okay, and that's how we'll find the difference. Just like if you had two numbers, you take the end time or location, subtract the beginning time or location, it'll find the difference. Big number minus small number, that kind of thing. But with dealing with integers, you have to be aware of what your end and start location or time are. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the first problem. We have Landon is practicing diving at the Edinburgh Pool. I love the Edinburgh Pool. He jumps from the board that's 7 feet above. That lets me know that that is a positive integer right here. So I'm making little notes. And he goes all the way to the bottom of the pool that's 7 feet deep. And so as I'm reading that, I'm going to make a little note. I know that's going to be a negative 12. And then how far did he travel? So that lets me know that we're doing a change type problem, which I know is going to be subtraction. Let's go ahead and draw this out. Since we're at the pool, we'll go ahead and make some water. That's going to be sort of our sea level. And then I'm going to go ahead and label that 0 feet. Okay. Now I need to go ahead and draw all of my different objects in and numbers and things like that. I know that he jumps from a board that's 7 feet above, so I'm going to draw a little diving board, and we'll put Landon on it. There we go. Looking good, Landon. He's happy to be there today. And we're going to go ahead and label where he's at. So this is Landon's starting location, and he is positive 7 feet above the water surface level. Okay. Now I know that he dives all the way to the bottom, which is 12 feet. I'm not going to draw arrows yet. I just want to plot a point to show where his end location is. So here's my end, and here's my start, okay? And I know that he goes all the way down here, and this is actually put the integer location, negative 12 feet, okay, below the sea level, okay? All right, so this is a start and end. I know that we are doing a change expression because I can identify those two pieces, and it also says how far did he travel, and that's a good hint for that. So when we do that, we'll go ahead over to this expression side, and we're going to write down end minus start, and then go ahead and list the numbers. So the end was negative 12 feet minus the start, which was positive 7 feet. Okay, we're never going to do subtraction when we're doing integers like this. Always change it to addition. So that's going to be our KFC. And so we keep the negative 12. We're going to flip the negative to positive, and then we're going to change the positive 7 to a negative 7. So we have negative 12 plus a negative 7, same signs, add and keep. So we're going to add those up. Negative 12 plus negative 7, join them together. I have a negative 19 feet. Okay, and so the question is, how far did he travel? Well, he traveled negative 19 feet, but we don't actually talk like that. So we need to rephrase that without the negative and write Landon traveled 19 feet down. Okay? All right. Let's always check for reasonableness. Does this make sense? Well, if he started up at the top, I know he went down 7 feet, and then he went down another 12 feet. So that makes sense that he went down 19 feet total. So I'm definitely sure that makes sense to me. All right, next problem. At the Edinburgh pool again, Abby found a fish with superpowers. She saw the fish go from the bottom of the pool that's 12 feet deep. Because we're at the bottom of the pool, I know that this is actually a negative 12. So notice I'm going to make a note about that right away. And then he landed on the top of the diving board, which was 7 feet above. 7 feet above is a positive 7. So I'm going to record that little note there. So I've just identified my two numbers. What is the change? They're flat out saying what is the change. So I know I'm going to be doing a change expression, which is subtraction. Let's go ahead and draw our picture out. So I have my water again. We're going to label our 0 feet right away. We have the, let's go ahead and go back to our story here so we don't make a mistake. She saw fish go from the bottom. So started on the bottom. So let's get our fish down here. So I'm going to plot my point. I'm also going to put a star because this is my start, or you can even just label it start. And I'm going to draw my little fish here. Okay, there's my fishy. And so what happens is she saw a fish go from the bottom of the pool that was negative 12 feet. And then land on the top of the diving board. So I need to make my diving board. There's my diving board again. Okay. And let's go ahead and list the rest of our information here. The diving board is positive 7 feet above the water. So this point right here is positive 7 feet. Notice again, I'm doing points. I'm not drawing arrows. Arrows are going to be showing the change, whether it was going down or up. Now at this point, it says, what is the change in feet of the fish? So now I can go ahead and I can show what's actually happening. And so my fish is going from here, and it's going all the way up to the diving board. Okay, and so we'll go over and do our work here. So we have end minus the start, because I know this is a change problem. The end was the 7 feet. So you can see how my notes and organization really help here. Minus the start, which was a negative 12 feet. Okay. All right, we're going to do the subtraction, but I never do subtraction of integers. We're going to use our KFC, not FFC, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Keep, flip, change. We're going to keep the 7 feet, flip the subtraction to positive, and change this negative 12 feet to a positive 12 feet. So basically we have 7 plus 12. 7 plus 12 is 19 feet. And so that lets us know, let's go back to the question. I like to always revisit the question. What is the change in feet of the fish? That way I'm answering it correctly. And I'm going to restate it. The change in feet of the fish is 19 feet. Okay? All right. And so I want to check for reasonableness now. So let's think about this. So over here on the side, I have my fish was down here. It went up 12 feet. That's its absolute value if you're thinking that way. And then it went up this distance to get to the 7 foot. So the total distance, it was the 12 plus the 7, and so that makes sense, the 19 feet. Okay, so I know if I'm thinking absolute value here, it went about that 19 feet, so that makes sense. All right, now we're going to look at our where examples. Okay, our where examples are questions like where now, new position. When we do these ones, what we're doing is we're being given a start time, or you might actually be given the end time, and then we're either going to add or subtract the change. Okay, so if I happen to know the end time, okay, and do one of these operations, we're going to add or subtract the change, and then you're going to end up getting the start time. Okay, if you know the start time, you're going to add or subtract the change, and it will end up giving you the end time. So that's how that works. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at these problems. So a puffin is one of the few birds that can fly and swim. Pretty cool. Problem is, I don't know what a puffin looks like, but it's a bird, so I'll draw a crappy bird anyway. A puffin traveled from 154 feet below, so I already know that's my negative 154 feet, and then flew to a cliff to watch the fish. She traveled a total of 200 feet. So traveled 200 feet. This amount here is my change. So notice how I'm making little notes. At what altitude is the puffin sitting on the cliff now? So where are we at now, or where are we at the end of this? So I have a start, I have a distance traveled or change, and I'm going to end up finding the ending location. So let's go ahead and draw our pictures. We have a sea again, so I can draw my sea level there. Let's go ahead and label it our 0 feet, and then start plotting where things are. So my puffin is right here. I'll draw my little birdie as best I can. It's going to be so beautiful. There you go. Beautiful swimming bird thingy. So there's my puffin, and it is at negative 154 feet below sea level, and this is my start. Okay, so if I want, again, I can label that my start. And then it traveled a total of 200 feet to a cliff. So I'm going to draw my cliff here. So there's my cliff. Okay, and I need to show the traveling. So this is going to be an arrow because it's the distance I traveled to get there. So this whole thing, okay, to this point, and notice how I'm going to write it like this. So I'm showing the distance traveled was 200 feet rather than having a point plotted. So it traveled 200 feet. So we have a start time, a traveled distance or a change, and then I don't know, it says, what altitude am I at now? So how many feet am I at the top here? Okay, and so let's go ahead and head over to our expression side here. With this, we have start, and then we have to decide, are we adding or subtracting? And so all you're going to do is you're going to look and think about this. If I'm going up, or if I'm on a number line going right, those are going to be positive changes. If I was going down, or if I was on a number line going to the left, those would be negative changes. So in this case, we're going a positive up, and so we'll go ahead and represent that here. So start, and we're adding the change, and that's going to equal our end location. And so our start was negative 154 feet, okay? And then we're adding the 200 feet, okay? And we're gonna think about our song with that. So same signs, add and keep. I don't have the same signs. Different signs, subtract. So we're gonna do our 200 minus 154, and that equals 46 feet is our ending location. So we'll go ahead and write that down, 46 feet, and then we need to write our sentence. So at what altitude is the puffin sitting at on the cliff? And we'll go ahead and write the puffin is sitting on the cliff at 46 feet, and this is above sea level. Okay. All right, let's check for reasonableness. Does that make sense? Well, I'm sort of sketching out my thinking over here. So I'm at negative 154 down here, and I know that this distance is 154 feet. Okay, that's my absolute value. And then I know that if I add 46 more feet, that does make sense, that those equal 200 feet. So that makes sense to me, and so I'm pretty confident in our answer. All right, last one is a submarine is 600 feet below sea level. So I have sea level again. I'm going to be making my notes here. I know that this is going to be a negative 600 feet because it's below sea level. And then it ascends 10 feet per minute. Okay. I know that descending means going down, D, that prefix D. Ascends means going up. So it's going up at 10 feet per minute. And it talks about after an hour, what is the ending location. So in this case, I don't know the end. It's letting me know how far my change is. And so I know that this is our expression that is asking us where is that final position rather than figuring out the change, since we already know the change. So we're going to go ahead and draw some things out. We do need to solve this little 10 feet per minute situation, but let's get our drawing going. So here's our water again. This is our 0 feet, or our sea level. I know the submarine is negative 600 feet below, so I'm going to plot that point there and label it as negative 600 feet because we're below. Draw my little submarine here. There we go. And now I need to figure out what the distance is that it's ascending or going up. So it ascends 10 feet per minute for an hour. Well, I know that an hour is 60 minutes. And so if it's doing 10 feet every minute, that's multiplication. So 10 feet per minute times 60 minutes. I know that I'm traveling 600 feet up, okay, because I'm ascending. So I'm going to go ahead and now again show that arrow going up because we're showing the change. And so the submarine's going up, and it's going up. I just know to stop there because we're at negative 600 going up 600. But I do want to label that we're going up 600 feet. And so I'm showing that change, that arrow change is 600 feet. All right. Since we're doing a problem, we're finding the ending location. I know that we're going to do start. And because we're going up, it's addition. And so start plus whatever the change is will get me my end location. And so my start was negative 600, and my change was the 10 times 60. And you don't have to put that in parentheses just because of order of operations. It's up to you, though. I'm just going to leave it. Because of order of operations, I do the 10 times 60 first, and I get the 600. And so we have negative 600 plus 600, and I know different sign subtract. 600 minus 600 is 0, and so we end up with 0 feet is our ending location. So it says, what is the elevation of the submarine? The elevation of the submarine, I'll do sub, is at 0 feet, or sea level. Okay? All right, and so there are our word problems. You can see the way to represent these accurately is to just be really structured in how you're reading the questions, plotting your points if it's giving you a specific location, and then showing change through an arrow if that's the information they give you. Use those hints when you're solving these and make sure yours look just like this. All right, there you go.